Hi. Okay. Chapter 7. So this chapter is where we start finding things in the knot hole, in the Radley knot hole. And if you're unfamiliar or if you're unaware, trying to figure out what that knot hole is, I will show pictures of it, don't worry. And this is also a chapter where you may hear or have heard that there's supposed to be some symbolism in what they found in the knot hole and these items. And if you're taking a class with me, rest assured I probably won't ask you what you think they symbolize. I never get into that too much with this book, the symbolism of each item. I just think, they're random objects, and but you're certainly welcome to read into it more if you want to. The chapter 7 starts out with Scout saying that she still hates school. She's in the 2nd grade. They don't have, I guess in her age, they don't have a kindergarten. So she started her first year with Miss Caroline was the 1st grade. Her 2nd year is the 2nd grade. But kind of like kindergarten, when she was in the 1st grade, she got out earlier. I don't know if you remember that from chapter 2. She got to leave school earlier than Jem. She didn't walk home with him. But now that she's in the 2nd grade, she actually does get out at the same time as he does. And so that's kind of cool. They get to walk home together. One thing he tells her right at the beginning of the chapter is he goes back to their last day of the summer. And when they sneaked into Boo Radley's yard and Mr. Nathan shot at them and he had to go back for his shorts. He actually talks about that and kind of opens up a little bit to Scout about what happened when he went back for his shorts. And he talks about how he found them folded up on the fence. And that's odd to him because one thing he noted is that they weren't sewed up like a lady would have sewed them up. Now, if you remember, this is the 1930s. Women would have been better at sewing, more practiced at it than men. And so he said, it's like they were clumsily sewed up like a man did it. And that's interesting to Scout. And that leads us to believe that probably that was Boo who tried to give him his shorts back. And because Mr. Nathan was out there shooting at him, I don't think it would have been Mr. Nathan Radley that would have brought put the shorts there for him. So anyways, here's the neighborhood again, and this is just to kind of visualize what's going on when they're walking home. So here's at the bottom, Maycomb Grammar School. That's where they take off, and then they walk around the corner up to their house, and this is Atticus's house. The tree, there's an oak tree right at the edge. The tree here really isn't close enough to the fence. But who am I to complain? I stole this picture off the internet. I didn't draw it. So if I'm too lazy to draw it, I guess I can't complain too much. But there's a tree that's kind of close to the road as they walk by, and there's a knot hole in the tree. And they find items in the knot hole. One of the first things that they find is, aside from what Scout had found a few chapters back, is she finds twine. She and Jem find twine as they're walking home, a ball of twine, like string. And they leave it there for a few days because, they're kids. Their morality is, should we take it if it's not ours? And once they see it, that it's been there for a few days and no one's touched it, then they decide that they can take whatever they want from there. It's being left for them. After they find the twine, Jim is also talking about what he's learning in the 6th grade. He's saying that the 6th grade is way better than the 2nd grade, because Scout hates the 2nd grade. And he's learning about Egyptians, apparently, in the 6th grade, and he's walking like an Egyptian, an ancient Egyptian. And what he's really doing is he's walking sideways. Like in the hieroglyphics where all of the paintings, the people in the paintings were to the side and kind of going like this. Well, that's what he's, I don't know if you can see that. Nope, you can't see that. Hold on. So that's what he's walking like. He thinks that's how they literally walked. And that is on page 79. He also says that they invented toilet paper and perpetual embalming. Now, the ancient Egyptians did deal with papyrus, and they were known for using papyrus, not toilet paper. And they obviously did embalming with the mummies. And so when Atticus is asked by Scout, so Scout asks Atticus if that's true, and Atticus says take away the adjectives and you'll have be closer to the truth. So what he means there is Jem says that the ancient Egyptians invented toilet paper. Well, in the case of toilet paper, the word toilet is an adjective. They didn't invent toilet paper, they invented just paper. And perpetual embalming, not technically perpetual. Perpetual means forever. But embalming they did invent. So Jem is showing that he's not clearly not understanding everything about the world, but he's getting closer. He's still a little immature. So they, and also on page 79, just as a heads up, Scout mentions that there are no clearly defined seasons in South Alabama. Summer drifts into autumn, and autumn is sometimes never followed by winter, but turns to a days-old spring that melts into summer again. Remember, because this is, Mainers up here, we have 4 seasons. In Alabama, it's just basically summer. We would probably consider it to be summer, based on what they have. And that's important for a later chapter, chapter 8. So they're finding other things in the knothole, besides the twine. And one of the other things they find is, the dolls. And this is, Scout's misuse of a word, really actually is kind of an allusion or foreshadowing of, other misunderstandings of words that she's going to have. When she sees the dolls, she screeches, and then she remembers that there's no such thing as hoodooing, Hoodooing. And so if you don't know what she means by that, no stress, because it also kind of confused me the first time I read it. I don't talk like they talk, so I didn't really know what they were talking about. What she means by hoodooing is voodooing, like voodoo, like a voodoo doll. So she thinks that she's looking at voodoo dolls, but I guess maybe her childish, or maybe it's something that they would have said in Southern Alabama. I'm not sure. But the attention to the dolls, the fact that the dolls look like Scout and Jem, a little girl Scout and a little boy Jem, alludes to the fact that there's somebody who is leaving stuff in that knothole, like little presents in that knothole, for specifically Scout and Jem. And that's kind of sad. If it's not Mr. Nathan Radley, and if it's Boo, who's trapped in his own house, that's kind of a sentiment. And Scout and Jem probably aren't really thinking about that, or especially Scout. She's just like, oh, look at all this free stuff we're getting. So I'll just read through the chapter and you'll see other things that they find in there. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say, but I'm going to skip it because I can't remember. So later in the book, so they decide that they're going to leave a letter, to thank whoever it is who's leaving the stuff. And I don't think this is like the first letter that Jem wanted to put on the fishing pole and leave for Boo Radley. I think this is a more sincere letter, not just asking him to come out, but actually thanking him for the presents. And so they tried to put it in the knothole of the tree, and when they go there, they find that it's filled up with cement. Now you may be wondering, okay, knothole. She said, what does she mean by knothole? If you have this version of the book, you'll see the knothole on the spine, and mine's really messed up because the spine is actually has been ripped up a little bit, but the knothole is right there. It's like a little hole in where a branch used to come out of, has been called out. That's where the little space where they're finding these presents. If you have that purple book, that's a very classic version of the book. I had the purple book when I was in high school. It's on the front. You'll see it. This is the purple book knothole picture. And you'll see, like, here's the twine and here's the watch, okay? So that's what it looks like, a knothole in a tree. I just took another picture. Look, someone, like, I don't know, this is not a great image, but this is a good representation. So there's a tree, and some of the items that they found, the dolls, the hoodoo dolls, and the gum that she found earlier, all of that stuff. And then here's just an image of the items in a box, okay? Just random knickknacks, nothing that's actually worth anything. Maybe the watch was worth like $10, which would have been a lot to them. But, all in all, junk. But still, if you're a kid, pretty cool stuff. So let's get back to the book. They go to leave a letter, and it's filled up with cement, and they ask Mr. Nathan Radley about it. Mr. Nathan Radley is the son who came back, Boo's older brother, when Boo's dad died. His older brother came back, Mr. Nathan Radley, and they asked Mr. Nathan what's up with the tree. Jem, in particular, is the one who's concerned about it. They usually don't talk to Mr. Nathan Radley a lot, and he says that he had to fill up a knothole because it was sick, and that's what you do to a sick tree. Jem doesn't buy it, and he asks Atticus, and Atticus is like, no, that tree's healthy, that's not sick. And Jem's like, well, Mr. Nathan Radley said that he had to fill it up because of it was sick. And Atticus immediately agrees that Mr. Nathan Radley must know what he's talking about, even though the tree's not sick. And that really upsets Jem. And so in my discussion question, I ask you, how has Jem's opinion of Boo Radley changed? He's definitely not obsessed with Boo Radley. He doesn't see him as a spook anymore. But I'd like you to think about, what maybe he is thinking about Boo Radley, because he doesn't just come out and tell us explicitly. I'm double the time plus a minute, so I'm going to stop talking now. That's chapter 7.